I was not expecting that. I was not expecting anything like the blossoming and explosion of technology that's happened. I mean, it's not just software and hardware going, everything's going faster. No bullshit. No, it's an entirely new functional environment.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to the Jerry Brazie Podcast. We got a real neat guest, real special guest today. John McAfee is with us. John, I had a write-up for you, an introduction, something I pulled off of the internet, but I don't think any of that stuff really is reflective of who you are, either currently or what you've been. So I thought if we could just get into it, and I mean, I have a laundry list of questions, but first and foremost, give us an update on your current situation. I know it's pretty unique, and so tell us where you are, the State of the Union today.
All right. Well, first of all, we're in an undisclosed location, not in America. We've been here for 4 months now, I think, ever since we got out of jail in the Dominican Republic. We're relaxed. We're having fun. We've fortunately told absolutely no one, not even our closest friends, nor even our staff, where we are. So we are safe and sound. I'm able to talk like I'm talking to you right now. I'm speaking out. I'm working hard. I just came out with a distributed exchange. Life is good.
And tell us why. What is it exactly that you are in an undisclosed location for?
God, I wish I knew. Okay, starting on January this year, on the 22nd of January, the IRS convened a grand jury to indict Janice, myself, and 4 of our workers on unspecified tax charges. Now, I haven't paid taxes in nearly 10 years. And every year I just tell the government not filing. I just don't file. End of story. That's not even illegal. And up until the time about 2 years ago that I started talking about cryptocurrency and how it could free you from having to pay taxes if you want, if it's using privacy coins, distributed exchanges, it's up to you whether you want to pay taxes because no one will know what your financial status is. When I started speaking out about that, well, that's when the charges came. We were in Cuba just before the Dominican Republic. We'd been there for 2 months. The Cuban government called Janice and I in and said that the U.S. had requested our extradition. They were not going to comply, but please, would you help them out and leave the country? Within 72 hours, they gave us. They even had people coming, soldiers checking on our status of leaving. It's kind of hard to get your boat ready and to pack up in a short period of time. We went to the Dominican Republic. We were immediately surrounded by security forces the instant we entered port. We hadn't even formally entered the country, but they didn't allow us to talk to customs or immigration, which is in customs, you declare whatever weapons, you declare whatever you have on the boat, and then they decide what to do. Generally, like in the Bahamas, you get to keep your weapons on the boat. In Cuba, they take them from you and return them to you when you leave. So nothing illegal about it. But they didn't even allow us to enter the country. They stormed the boat and charged us with bringing illegal weapons into the country. All bogus, totally bogus. We had the weapons laid out on the table, all ready for inspection. So anyway, 4 days later, after softening us up with confinement, they bought us out and said they're going to deport us back to the States. I said, I didn't come from the States. There's no legal rationale for doing that. And plus, I have a British passport. I said, if you want to send me somewhere, send me home to England. I could choose my home, depending on the passport that I carry. And they said, no, you have to go back to America. I had, by that time, 2 lawyers. I instructed them to file a brief with the Dominican Republic courts demanding that my case be heard before the Dominican Republic ships me anywhere. Now, we'd been in the news. Everybody knew that we were jailed. So it was a high-profile case. So the court had to hear my case. They accepted it, and immediately the Dominican Republic turned around and goes, "Please, will you go to England? We will send you to England." Because had that gone to court, the whole fucking government would have been a laughingstock. I mean, seriously. I mean, they broke every law in the book, boarding our boat and charging us with crimes we did not commit. Anyway, all of this is set up by the CIA. It was the CIA who contacted Cuba. It was the CIA who set everything up in the Dominican Republic. And we're now, until things cool down, I just don't want to be harassed by them anymore. They've been harassing me for fucking years. So
what's that like? Kind of living that Cuba to the Dominican Republic. I think you were in Guatemala for a time and got pushed out of that, and now you're living in an undisclosed location. What's that got? I mean, life's hard enough already. What's that like living on
all the places where I was jailed or imprisoned, like in Guatemala? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you making a statement about my wayward behaviors, which is probably correct if you are?
No, I'm not. I'm asking. Life is, I own big businesses back in the States, and life is complicated enough as it is. I'm trying to understand from you, what's that got to be like? I'm impressed that you're able to so rationally talk about what for most people would. I don't know. I can't imagine the amount of Xanax that people be taking after living just a year in your life, or just as you explained it there, going to the Dominican Republic, Cuba, kicking you out. What's that do to your psyche, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
Well, nothing. I mean, I know why it's happening. I mean, it's not like, God is punishing us for something. No, I mean, we're living quite happily. It's simply that if I'm going to be speaking out, if you tell the truth, you make enemies. I mean, this is the fact of life. And I'm sorry to have to impart that wisdom to the world. But if you tell the truth and you tell it loudly, the more loud you speak it, the more you are hated.
Yes.
Nobody wants the fucking truth, least of all governments and the people who are corrupt.
Right. I agree. Let's go back a ways. Tell me about, now, again, I read your bio just briefly, but for somebody my age, I'm 50, and I was a complete Luddite as a kid, and technology for me was just kind of whatever the latest video game was at the arcade. And my first interaction kind of with computers was probably the mid 90s, maybe the later 90s, and your name was synonymous with technology because we all saw it, even though we didn't understand what it was. Every time one of our computers booted up. So give me some background. Growing up, were you always a programmer? Was it something you always enjoyed doing? What part of the world did you grow up in?
Well, I grew up all over the world. I traveled. Once I left home at the age of 21, I just moved and kept moving. I was a computer one of the first computer technologists. I cut my teeth at General Electric in 1968 while I was at grad school, and I never went back to grad school after that. Programming came so easy to me. It's a I'm a mathematician, and programming is nothing more than digital math, and it just came very easy to me. So I could get jobs anywhere, and people in the industry knew who the fuck I was. And, if I wandered into, like in Munich, I wandered into Munich one day, went up to computer sciences, got a job instantly, and I lived in Munich for 2 years, working for Computer Sciences Corporation on a contract with Siemens, which at that time was a computer manufacturer. I don't know, I just move around where the will takes me and get jobs wherever I could. I got good jobs, NASA and Lockheed and Xerox. That was an awesome job. Booz Allen and Hamilton, just like Edward Snowden. I was there for 2 years. I just moved around.
And so the entrepreneurial bug, was it just kind of went that direction as you move from job to job, and finally you're like, I think I can build a better mousetrap, or was it by accident that you started the company?
Well, no, I mean, I've always been entrepreneurial ever since I was 10 years old, and I started mowing the yards in my neighborhood in the summertime and shoveling snow off of sidewalks in the wintertime. I mean, I made a fortune. and I've been entrepreneurial ever since then. I mean, even taking jobs like with computer sciences, I was a consultant. Generally, that was my job. And I was a good one of the best. Still am.
So in those early days, compare and contrast for us what's different about technology today versus what technology was then. And here's why I asked that question. I have an opinion about technology, which is that really there's been nothing new that's come out from technology. Everything has just sped up. Now, of course, I'm generalizing a bit, but it's all just databases, and as the databases get smaller and the look of them as they're sent across our smartphones and those things are used differently. There's not been any kind of when you were a kid, we were going to be flying cars and going to the moon by the year 2000, and for me, I have not seen, other than technology speed up in terms of its quickness, I've not seen any really new technologies come out from, when I was a kid in the late 80s, early 90s to today. What's your take on that, and kind of your take overall technology from where it was to where it is today?
I see technology is changing dramatically, almost daily. When I started computing, we didn't have computer screens. We didn't have keyboards. You had to throw switches on the front panel of the computer in machine code in order to program it.
Mm-hmm.
Then CRT screens, little television screens, and keyboards were created for the large mainframes. And I thought, Jesus God, that was the best thing in the world. Since then, what has changed? Everything. It's not just speed. It's the speed of what? We now have an Internet of Things where your thermostat is a computer, and
Right.
it's a smart device controlling the temperature in your house. And your refrigerator might be smart. Your television certainly is smart, and more than likely is listening to you. I mean, these are rapid advances in technology. CCTV cameras on every street corner, capable of doing facial recognition. We have biometric scanners that look at your retina or your fingerprint.
And isn't that more of the, and again, like I said, I'm generalizing here, but I don't know, I think I expected a whole lot more. And it seems to me like even all of those things as you counted them off, seem to me to be like, using the ability to process faster, coded differently, shown to us in a different format, but they're still just based on computers looking things up and matching it with other data points, be it 1 billion data points or being 10 data points. And I guess I was just expecting something different without being able to even necessarily know what that is. I just thought would be further along than, watching cat videos.
Well, we just see the world differently, I think. If you're expecting time machines and being able to teleport yourself from New York to London, then you are indeed disappointed.
Yes.
I was not expecting that. I was not expecting anything like the blossoming and explosion of technology that's happened. I mean, it's not just software and hardware going, everything's going faster. No bullshit. No, it's an entirely new functional environment where computing has crept into the watches that we wear on our wrists, and all these are interfacing through very complex communications channels, none of which existed when I started computing.
Sure.
To do everything from help you find a restaurant to help the government monitor where the hell you are. I mean,
Right.
Jesus, to me, that's been a massive change in not just technology, but society. We live in a society now when if you leave your house, something's watching you. It's either a satellite in the sky or a drone. If you're in a city, there's an average of 25 cameras on every fucking street corner. Everything is being monitored. Your communications are being listened to. Well, fuck, I couldn't imagine a world like that. That's 1984. That's George Orwell stuff. So
Sure.
to me, it's been far worse than what I had imagined in terms of the growth, in terms of the impact on society. But
So
then
think.
I don't insist. That's just my opinion, my friend.
Sure. No, that's why you're here. Think back then, if you can, in say the late '80s, early '90s. Let me ask that question of however old you were at that point, John. What did you expect? Do you remember where you thought technology would take us? You just said you're amazed at how it ended up or where we are today. Was there any expectation that would look anything like this, or
No,
what was your expectation?
my expectation was just to keep up with it as it grew. There's no way anyone could possibly have imagined the world we have created with these devices where I can sit here 7,000 miles from you and
Right.
communicate, see your face and hear your voice, and it's like we're in the same room together. I could not have imagined that. Good God, what a growth that has been. Everything about it is something that I could not have imagined, or could anybody. Um, so I'm just hanging in there because every day while we're speaking, there are hundreds of thousands of developers around the world developing new devices, new software, new ideas, new algorithms. It's not a matter of speed. It's a matter of seepage into functional areas of our life. So, but in any case, I didn't have expectations. None.
Yeah.
I just tried to keep up.
I think I'm always amazed at when a new app comes out or a new piece of hardware comes out, a real one that really grabs hold of you. You know, there's thousands of apps that never make it, and millions probably, but the apps that how quickly things become ubiquitous. The smartphone, as an example, you know, we went from flip phones and Blackberries seemingly overnight to the smartphone. And I mean, it happened in a flash, and I thought, boy, that I barely blinked and that happened, as opposed to other things that tend to take, go over a much longer time period. Video games is an example, where they're very rudimentary, and over 20 or 30 years, they just get better and better and better. But we flip to the smartphone as an example, or say the way we consume music, seemingly overnight.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what happens. That's because we can manufacture, well, at least China can manufacture almost anything overnight. That's because the internet allows us to all know that it has happened and therefore want one, whatever it is. Absolutely. The good catches on and the nonsense dies off. And this is how technology grows.
So going back to the firm that you started, I've read where you've been pretty negative about it as it is today. Back when you were putting it together and getting it out there, was this? I don't think there's really anything else like it on the market. Is that something that A, you were proud to have built, and B, do you think you exited it too early, or what was the circumstances around that?
Well, no, I was definitely the first to understand and discover how to prevent viruses.
Mm-hmm.
Then Norton was the second, and Microsoft was the third, IBM was the fourth, Checkpoint, a whole bunch of people. But I ruled that landscape because of the means in which I distributed my program. We didn't have the internet back then. We had bulletin board systems, and I operated the largest bulletin board system in Silicon Valley. And I just put my software up on the bulletin board. Thousands of people would download it and then upload it to other bulletin boards around the world, to the point that within 24 hours or so, when I put a new update out, 10 million people had that update. That was without the internet. Everybody else was
way
selling
before
software.
its time, obviously, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
everybody else was selling software in boxes
Yes.
with hard disks or storage devices in it that you loaded onto your computer. No, I distributed mine electronically. And as a result, 5 years after the creation, my first creation of that innovation, we owned 87% of the world market. And
Yes.
that was my distribution method. But everybody equates me with McAfee, the company. I guess that's because of the name. But I mean, McAfee was just one of my successes. After McAfee, I co-founded Zone Labs, which 2 years later we sold to Checkpoint Systems for $400 million. I started Tribal Voice, sold to CMGI. I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always started companies. The only one I've ever named after me was the virus company. That was a mistake. Don't ever do that. You're going to get sued by anybody who falls on your property or gets sick by looking at you or whatever. Oh my God, that's John McAfee. He's got money. Sue him. I've been
Right.
sued 200 times. So
Right. Yeah. The unintended consequences of business, or the side of business that nobody understands, is how easy it is to be sued for this. Like you said, somebody fell on your sidewalk, and
in America, it is. America has 70% of all the world's lawyers, and almost 80% of all of the world's lawsuits. I mean,
right.
think about it.
Yeah, you're right. No, I've had my fair share of experiences there, and the system's broken. There's no doubt. But so to that end, or since we're talking about that, one of the other questions I want to ask you about is running for the Libertarian Party and your foray into politics. What was that like? I remember seeing you on the debate stage and that whole process. Tell me about that. I'm interested to hear. I'm very interested in politics from afar. So if I ever get to talk to somebody that was inside of it, tell me how your experience was.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I don't want to be president. I would not take the job if offered to me. If you paid me $1 trillion, I wouldn't take that job. And I personally believe that it does not matter who sits in that office. I really do. And if you think about it, the presidents come and go every 4 years, at most every 8. The career people within the high levels of our covert agencies that truly run things are there for 25, 30, or 40 years.
Sure.
It's when a new president comes in, we got another one coming in, who's going to handle this one? They're completely insignificant to the power within this government. If you go in, do you actually think, people ask presidents, hey, are there aliens? If there were, do you think presidents would be told? Fuck no. It's not a need. It's not a need to know. And this is what they're told, for Christ's sakes. Well, sir, it's not a need to know right now. It does become a need to know for you. We will alert you immediately. No, they don't know jack shit. They only know what people tell them, their advisors, the covert agencies which create all the fucking information without any kind of verification. So I don't want that job. I mean, it's a puppet with 1,000 strings. I just want the stage so that I can.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. What was the actual process like for you? You got on the stage. What did you like about it? What was different about it than what you expected? What was that process like for you as you went through it?
Well, it was eye-opening. Number one, it's my first foray into politics, and even in the Libertarian Party, you've got some serious politics going on.
Meaning who has the most money, the most connections, who knows who, what group is best put together?
Absolutely, and the people in power and the people who put money into the party. But the thing that surprised me was the juvenile aspect of it. I mean, we're in the Libertarian Party. Please God, people, we're not ever going to be president, not in this two-party locked-up system that exists in America.
Right.
There won't be room for another, and they will not allow another. This is just a fact of life. I don't care how much money you have, I don't care how much support you have, you're not going to happen. And yet, every single debate, Mr. McAfee and everybody on the stage, what will you do your first day in office? And finally, on my last debate, I got fed up and I said, please, God, ask me a rational question. I know. And all of the people on this stage know none of us are going to be president. And if you cannot see that, stop smoking rainbows, move out of your mother's basement because you need a dose of reality. No, what we can do as a party is gain the stage. Because I believe the process of electing a president is far more important than whoever gets elected, because in that process, voices are heard, which point out perspectives or things of note that you may have missed, that maybe someone else, someone older or more experienced, has not missed. And
Probably the best example of that is Ross Perot.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, where
All
he
the money. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, again, I'm 50 years old, so I was, probably in my early 20s, and I remember going through that and listening to him more because he had such an interesting voice, and as a young kid, I was like, well, what the hell do I care about politics? But he drew you in and made you start to look at it differently than anything I had ever seen before, for sure,
Yes.
and that's pre-technology days.
I just want to point out the process itself, the system itself that we're in. We shouldn't be worrying about who's president. We should be worrying about who's pulling the strings. We shouldn't be worrying about the Middle East or trying to solve their problems because we don't understand them, for fuck's sake. No, what we should be worrying about is seeing the truth of our own system, the truth that our covert agencies truly run this country and most of the fucking planet.
I always say that if anybody ever owned a business of any size, if they had any idea of what you have to put up with and the at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level, their eyes would be opened. If they had some sense of what the real world is like, we and I bitch about this all the time. We watch the world, we being the general population, through reality TV. And reality TV is something, right, is completely devoid of anything realistic. And the reality of the world.
There's no reality on reality TV, that is for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so I agree with you to the extent that the message isn't out there nearly enough. And I see then your point on the Libertarian Party is that it gives you that stage to stand on and a voice to be heard, televised so that we can all see it, to try to make your point, to educate people on what reality really is.
The process of selecting a president, the primaries, all the attention, the news, the debates, is to allow people not to see who they should vote for, in my mind, but to listen to opinions of others that are not your opinion. This is the beauty of it. You're watching people that you may disagree with, but you're watching them anyway. You may hate Trump, but you're watching his fucking debates, aren't you? You may hate Hillary, but you're hanging on every single slip up that she makes. So you're watching. Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
And those running many never do, can take that opportunity of running to say, here, people, this is the truth. You don't have a vote in America. You have two parties, and those parties select who you're going to vote for. You don't select them. No, parties do. Parties run this country. They have divided America down the fucking middle, and we are at war with ourselves, because these two parties are at war and will always be.
Sure.
Two opposing contenders for power.
Right.
Will never be friends.
And the bigger problem, as I see it, and you alluded to it earlier, really, and it's a term that's gotten a lot of publicity here lately, is that deep state, which is that 30, 40-year bureaucrat that's been sitting, presidents come and go, Democrat, Republican, times change, and that same person is still sitting there making decisions unelected on all of our behalves. And regardless of what kind of direction they get from their bosses, they just go, fuck you, you'll be gone in 4 years, and we'll be moving on.
Yes, and you're not given the information to do anything damaging to what those in power want.
Right.
You go, don't tell the president about that. He may try to do something, so don't even tell him. This is the truth. This is the truth. You call it the deep state, but we know who they are. Take the leaders of the two parties. Find out who their friends and contributors are. That's the deep state. And within the government, that body that started with the CIA back in the 50s, and President Eisenhower warned us about them. Every president has, about the CIA. Well, now it's not just the CIA. We have 14 covert agencies: Army
Right.
intelligence, Navy intelligence, Air Force intelligence, NSA, FBI, CIA, and on and on. These are the true controllers, hand in hand with the party leaders and our corporate power structure. This is what we're fighting, people. And
I don't.
you're not going to fix this problem by changing presidents. It can't
I
be.
I didn't. Wasn't my intention to have this turn into a political conversation. But since we're there, I agree with what you're saying, and also I think maybe this is where technology is coming to the forefront. In that, I don't know that I've ever seen. There's not nearly enough sunlight being shown on any of these groups or people specifically. But I don't know that I've ever seen them under assault like they are now, in a good way. And they're being pulled into the light, FBI, CIA. I mean, right, we're seeing them every single day. Something new is breaking. Some new memorandum got thrown out there. So it might be that decentralized information gathering that is the internet possibly may have some value as it exposes people little bit by little bit. There's no giant smoking gun that just opens the door on the CIA, but I don't know I've ever seen these institutions under the microscope like they are today.
Well, these pieces of information, these leakages, these memos only have value if you do more than just go, oh, what a shame.
Sure.
They only have value if you take action, people. And what is the only action you can take? Voting. That's it. We have a system of democracy in America that still fucking functions in spite of the nightmarish system that we've created from it. And by your vote, I promise you, our government would be no worse if we threw everybody out.
Right.
And elected derelicts from the street, and put the homeless and the street people in government. I tell you, it would be 50 years before they could form any kind of coalition to create power. At
Right.
least that would happen, because our government shuts down periodically. Does anything change in your life?
Nope.
When Congress is gone, do we all starve? When the president is on vacation or at Camp David, do the lights go out? Fuck no. They don't matter, people. The system behind our government will continue to function irrespective of who is sitting there, unless all of them go.
Sure. Right.
Every last one. This is my motto. Every last one must go.
To
People
that
go,
end,
well, you need experience in government. Well, what kind of experience do these people have? They have experience in making money from your pocket, putting it into theirs. They have experience in deception, lies, deviant behaviors. That's what they're good at. That is their experience, and we don't need that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
think. No, you're fine. One of the things I hate most about the political process is that the same people are there for 30 and 40 years. That to me just seems like insanity. And a good way to start would be to limit that to much less politically their terms that they get. I think if we saw some turnover there, it would help.
We've got time for another couple of questions.
Let me ask you about your thoughts on social and the regulation for social media. And where you see that going. What do you think about that versus, kind of the libertarian take on it, which is, leave business alone and let it sort itself out. These companies seem to have gotten so huge. I'm wondering what your take is on the Google and Facebooks of the world.
I don't believe in any regulations whatsoever on business or on private human personal behavior, individual behavior. As a good example is, who owns your body? Is it you or is it the state? If it's you, then you have the right to put into it whatever you choose, to put into your mind whatever you want to believe or think. Do we have that freedom? You try go shooting up heroin in a park somewhere in Chicago, you're going to get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
They say, no, your body belongs to us. We will tell you what you can and cannot put into your body. And at times, our governors even tell us what we can and cannot think. I mean, if you remember the trials going on about teaching Darwinism, teaching evolution. I mean, good God Almighty, the people who taught of evolution were jailed. We're not allowed to put that thought into our minds. You do not own your body. If some other person can tell you what to edit in terms of your head and what you may ingest in terms of your body, or how you may decorate it if you want tattoos from head to toe, no,
Sure. I
it's
don't
your
disagree.
body and it's your mind.
And I agree with that. And I am staunchly anti government, anti regulation. But even I'm not. These companies have become so powerful, and their ability to stamp out all competition. I'm the last person to ever advocate for any kind of regulation. I'm just not sure what the answer is. If these companies can dictate to us what we're doing, what we're looking at, and what we're seeing, at some point, should there not be? I don't know what the answer is. I guess that's why I'm asking you what your thoughts are specifically on the social media.
Well, I think the answer is the free market. I think that technology, especially now that the blockchain is here and is being applied to problems that standard software and formulas have not been able to address, new things are happening. So if you don't like the fact that Facebook is censoring you, do you know how easy it is to build another fucking Facebook? I mean, there are bits and pieces of the code everywhere. Build another Facebook, make your own fucking rules. And if in fact we are all pissed off enough against Facebook or Twitter to go, fuck you, we don't like this, we're going to move over to your competitor. You think that can't happen? Yes, it can. We have a world where processes and functions are being distributed around the world. Distributed processing gives power that no centralized system like Facebook can ever do. So I'm predicting that Facebook and Twitter will be replaced eventually with blockchain-based versions where there's no more fucking deception, where there's no more arguments about facts. The blockchain will have that.
Right.
So, I say leave it alone. We're unhappy. Let's, voice our concerns.
Let's I hold on to that, and I hope that's true. Let me ask you one more question. As a layman, you hear about Bitcoin, for the last 10 years, or how many, I think it's been since 2009 that it came out, and cryptocurrency and blockchain. And I know that's a big interest for you, and you have business in that. Help me and my listeners, again, other business people, we don't understand. It's like the television. I understand how the TV works, but I don't understand how the TV works, right? You can explain it to me. Is there something that you could tell me that would make sense for me to help me understand blockchain and cryptocurrency for the layman?
All right. The reason that I am so focused on cryptocurrency is that I believe if we use it appropriately, we can free ourselves from any overburdening government, from any dictatorial state, from any monopoly, from everything. And here's why. Cryptocurrency allows you to be your own bank. That's the beauty of it, and that's the basis of it. Banks aren't necessary in cryptocurrency. Governments aren't necessary. International financial institutions are not necessary. Nothing is necessary other than you and the person you're doing business with. Whether you're buying something, selling something, sending a gift to a friend, paying off a debt, paying off a bet, whatever. You have your own bank. With the bank, you've got to get up in the morning, go down to the bank. If you want to wire money to another country, fill out forms, get a stamp of approval, sign your name, then go back home, and it may get there the following day. With cryptocurrency, you are your bank. Your wallet is your bank. If I owe money to somebody in Germany, I take my wallet, I look at his wallet address, I owe them $800. I send them $800. It takes 25 seconds, and then I go back to sleep or watching television or making love to my wife or whatever. This is the beauty and this is the power. The true power is no one can monitor what you're doing if you're using the appropriate cryptocurrency coins. That means that if you do all of your business in cryptocurrency, and many companies and individuals are doing that now, buying nothing with fiat, only with cryptocurrency. And you can do that. You can buy houses with cryptocurrency, cars with crypto, clothes, bulletproof vests, drugs, whatever you want. So it gives you control over your finances.
Does it matter?
Can't, pardon?
I think as we sit here today, there's like 5,000 cryptocurrencies. Does it matter if one's Bitcoin and another one is whatever something else is? Because, I mean, to me, the 5,000 seems extraordinary, or are they all essentially the same thing?
No, they're definitely not any way, shape, and form the same thing. And 5,000, I prefer 5 million. There's no reason that, in fact, there was a kid in Kansas last year that created a coin called the Billy coin, and they just used it in the school, and that became the currency for the kids of his age. That was the currency.
Okay.
Why can't you create your own currency? Why should governments be allowed the privilege of controlling your finances when now, with cryptocurrency, you have the ability to do it yourself?
Sure.
In a way that governments can't know. If all of your business is transacted with, let's say, Monero, which is a privacy coin, nobody can find out who you are, who you're doing business with, how much you made, or how much you spent. Nobody, including the Internal Revenue Service. This is why I've been speaking out for 2 years saying, listen, income taxes are illegal in America. If you want to do the right thing, stop paying them and use cryptocurrency. Governments can't ever find out what you bought, what you sold, what you did with your money. And they shouldn't. It's your fucking business. It's your money. You earned it through hard work. Good God, it's yours. Do with it as you please.
Boy, I shudder to think the approach the government will take if that ever takes hold. Because that essentially subverts most of the control and power that they have over us monetarily.
Well, yeah, but governments are making it illegal. India's making it illegal. China banned it 2 years ago. It doesn't matter. Everybody's in China is still using it. Everybody in India is still using it. It's like weed. I don't know if you smoke weed. Many of you, maybe some of you in the audience might know somebody who smokes weed.
I live in Portland, Oregon.
All right. Well, okay then. So
yeah.
I think it's in Portland. Is it legal or illegal?
It's legal in the state of Oregon. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's new because 10 years ago, I guarantee it was not.
No,
right?
It's just a couple. I don't know, 3 years old, 4 years old, something like that.
Most of the U.S. states still ban marijuana, and it is still a federal crime. And yet, does that stop anybody from smoking weed? No, because you smoke it in the privacy of your home, of your car, or somewhere. It's your business. Same thing. If you take your finances, which should be innately private to you, known to no one other than yourself and those you wish to share it with, certainly not the fucking government.
Mm-hmm.
And if in fact you believe that, then you have an obligation, not just a right, a fucking obligation to disobey laws which are slavery. And income tax is. Look at it this way. You work 2 to 3 months every year, sometimes 4 months, for the government. For the government. Your hard labor. We didn't have income taxes prior to 1913 in America, and we were a prosperous nation. They say, oh, well, without income taxes, how are we going to get money? That's fucking bullshit. How'd you do it before 1913? How does the Bahamas do it today? How do the 38 other countries that do not have income tax survive? They make do. They figure it out. We did beforehand. So if you, in fact, believe that it is unconstitutional, you just read what the Constitution says. Congress shall make no laws to inhibit a person's ability to earn a living. And if you're sucking up 30% of what they make, then goddamn it, that's inhibiting your ability to make an income.
And cryptocurrency is
we're out of time. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. John, I appreciate you taking the time. I really do. This has been fun. I appreciate it.
All right, good. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.